I think leadership has a very important role in benefiting the positive outcomes in mental health in the community. I think really leaders, we need to work alongside the community to be well informed, to have a good understanding of the needs, the challenges that they go through, and try to work together around ideas and developing programs to be able to get these positive outcomes. Saying that, though, I think it's also extremely important that leaders are aware that being able to get to these outcomes do take time. So we need to be able to also focus on the processes. That in there is where a lot of the ideas, a lot of the solutions, and a lot of the reflections come up within the communities. And I think it's extremely important that we pay attention to that for the benefit of everyone. If we actually focus too much on getting quick outcomes and not allowing the process to happen, we might miss out and we might not get beneficial outcomes at the end. I also think that by leaders working alongside the community members allows us also to have a much better understanding of what is needed, and therefore we will be able to advocate a lot better for their needs, and also to be able to, in conjunction, develop positive programs. I think really the structure of the system and the complexity of the system is the biggest challenge for people from a refugee background. In reality, in a lot of the communities that we work with, they haven't had the support of a mental health system in their countries. Furthermore, in some of their countries or in their languages, they don't have the concept of mental health. So, having to understand the system, having to access the services, and being able to connect with that is a further challenge, I would say. On top of that, I think the health system, the mental health system, is not always understanding of the needs of people from a refugee background. So just to name a few things, there tends to be a lack of use of interpreters. And when there is language barrier, not being able to communicate, specifically in the health sector in general, but in mental health specifically, is quite difficult. The lack of staff who are actually competent in culturally and linguistically diverse issues, it's also another big challenge, because that wouldn't allow the staff to have an insight of the different cultural beliefs that people might go through or might bring with them, and how that can impact in their everyday life, in their treatments, and in the things that they have to go through. And on top of all of that, of course, stigma is big in the Australia society, and it's also really big in the communities that we work with. So that's an addition. I have to say, look, I've been, along the week, my head is full of extremely important and interesting and concepts that I'm hoping I will be able to adapt along the way. But the things that are staying with me very strongly, and it can seems to be quite obvious for people, but it's never too obvious to remember this, is build strong relationships, build meaningful relationships, positive relationships that will allow us to work alongside and will allow us to go to that space of collaboration that we all discuss, that it sometimes unfortunately happens in not a very meaningful way. And if we are able to actually work from a meaningful space by building these relationships and collaborating, I think we will be able to go through meaningful processes to get to positive outcomes for the mental health space.